Futurama is back from the dead once again. And that's crazy because, man, the show that just won't quit is Futurama. This show has been taken off the air, or not even canceled, just ended and then come back and then ended and come back. So the latest, and I guess the latest version of Futurama is on Hulu right now. And I got to see the first episode yesterday, so I wanted to give my thoughts on Futurama. I have never talked about Futurama on this channel. Never done it. It's a show that, while I really, really loved watching it early on, like, I actually saw the premiere. I remember when this show premiered, I was younger, way younger. This was like, what, 1999 or something? And I was already a huge Simpsons fan. The Simpsons, to me, the first 10 seasons are damn near flawless. But the latter few seasons, like after season 10, maybe season 12, is when things really fall apart for that show. But Futurama managed to actually stay interesting, and not just stay interesting, but a lot of it actually improved. I feel like shows like Family Guy actually got worse as time went on, in my opinion. And I feel like shows like South Park got better. It's always interesting to me to analyze old shows and when they fell off. I mean mostly like old TV shows that were sort of like sitcoms. And, you know, Family Guy, Simpsons, Futurama, they're animated sitcoms, but they're still sitcoms. So to me, The Simpsons started off red hot, got kind of bad. Futurama, I've always enjoyed it, but I'll admit, there's a couple of seasons there that I've never seen. So seeing it come back was a pleasant surprise for me. This is now season 8 of Futurama. This episode was written by Patrick M. Verone. It's called The Impossible Stream. So one of the things they did in this episode is they kind of did the same thing that we saw from the Animaniacs reboot, and that is make fun of reboots. This episode was basically kind of borrowing a page from Rick and Morty, to where they're kind of it's a lot of self-referential humor and a lot of fourth wall breaking. There's tons of little jokes here and there about shows that never end, about streaming services, about the way that the world has changed since the late 90s when the show first started. Even though the show takes place deep into the future, it's interesting because the technology that and this is something that you can't help, nothing can help this. It's the way life is. The technology we see in Futurama, in some ways, what we actually have in the real world now is more impressive than what they had back when these episodes were airing in 2000. You know what I mean? Because the creators obviously didn't know we were going to have iPhones and tablets and things of that nature, even though a lot of science fiction like Star Trek had a bunch of stuff way ahead of its time, obviously. With Futurama, it definitely had some stuff right, for sure. But ultimately, Futurama is supposed to be this sort of parody series that looks at a lot of things, a lot of cultural things that we go through from the lens of the future. Sort of like the idea that we as a civilization, not just, humans, but also aliens, whatever you want to call it, we all kind of go through the same struggles and we go through the same problems and things like that, but obviously in different times. So this episode did a lot of that, but the problem that I had is I enjoyed watching it. I'm not saying it was a bad episode by any means. However, the issue I felt is that it was trying maybe a bit too hard to be like Rick and Morty. I feel like Animaniacs and Futurama both had very similar takes to what Rick and Morty did, but Rick and Morty's been doing this type of stuff, that kind of fourth wall breaking, very intelligent humor. They've been doing that stuff for so long, and they're so effective at it that anybody else who comes along comes off like a copycat. Now, I'm not saying that Futurama copied them. I'm not saying that they actually stole from them, but the premise has kind of already been done in a way. If you're wondering about the characters, they're all back. Fry, Farnsworth, everybody from the past, Bender. I believe they have all of the same voices from before. I didn't check the credits on that, but the big sort of fourth wall breaking story is that they find out that the whole crew has been frozen for 10 years. Now, why is that important? Well, Futurama ended in 2013, literally 10 years ago. So their clever way of explaining what's been going on is, instead of doing a bunch of episodes to catch us up, they've all been frozen, suspended animation for 10 years. And Fry has this, like, I guess you can call it this existential crisis where he realizes that he's never really accomplished anything. And, the 10 years just kind of flew by. It kind of reminded me of the Snap from Marvel, even though that's not what it was. John DiMaggio didn't have much to do as Bender, but it was good to hear his voice again. Billy West is there. Katie Sagal as Leela again. And, of course, pretty much the whole cast, Phil Lamar, everybody from the past has returned as far as I can see. And I never would have expected Futurama to actually come back again. I really thought that when they brought the show back for that last run, that was going to be it. But here we are again, And the last run I'm referring to is, like, remember, the show ended in 2002, then came back in 2008, then ended in 2013. So it comes back for these little bunches, and that's fine. I mean, it's ultimately not that crazy. But it does tend to do a lot of the things that other shows have done, which is sort of make fun of our world from a futuristic perspective. So if you like Futurama, if you enjoyed the show, check it out. I mean, it ain't going to be a waste of time. I don't know if I'm going to be watching more episodes. I'll probably check them out, but there's just so much to do nowadays, y'all. I mean, you know how it is, man. Like, there's so many TV shows out there that's going to be hard to find time to watch it. But either way, I enjoyed this first episode, and it was a good reunion. It really felt good. And hopefully they can keep churning these out as long as the cast stays healthy. Let's not forget what happened to Phil Hartman and how that whole thing changed the early Futurama. Let's hope that doesn't happen again. Anyways, and I don't think it will, because that was a horrible tragedy. It really was. Hopefully things will go smoothly this time like before. Anyways, y'all, what did you think about Futurama Season 8, Episode 1 so far? I'm not doing weekly reviews on this. I may drop it from time to time, but I'm not going to do weekly reviews because I may get behind on this kind of stuff. I am going to be doing the review tonight, late tonight, early tomorrow, for the Secret Invasion finale. That should be interesting. Talk to you then.